Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer Online action. We're going to be playing as the Beastmen once again, and we're facing up against the Warriors of Chaos, and decided to try a little bit of a different army composition this time. Morghur is typically the most competitive Beastman lord, just because the regeneration, his resistances, and the Chaos Spawn summons are very, very strong. However, against the Chaos, with the Swords of Chaos, they have flaming damage and heavy weapon strength with a bonus versus infantry, which is basically a worst case scenario for Morghur. They'll put him down very, very fast, and so he may not be the best pick in this matchup anymore. So I decided to take the Beastlord on a Chariot, just because he can also take a healing potion. He's also got some decent buffs, this Call of Violence, Deadly Onslaught, and Apocalyptic Vision. There's another, the Horn of the True Beast item that you can bring with him that's pretty good as well. Lots to like about him. Of course, the Chariot does have armor-piercing anti-infantry. So it looks like about 240 armor-piercing with a 26 bonus versus infantry. Very, very nice. For the rest of my force, it's a mix of Gore Herd here with the Koroks Man-Rippers in the center. We've got two Ungor Spearmen here. Ungor Spearman herd out on this flank, just as kind of a distraction. We've also got another Ungor Spearman herd hidden in the forest here. And here we've got two Centaurs with great weapons, of course the Sons of Goros being one of them, just for some sneaky ambush action. You guys know that very much am of the opinion that the Beastmen need to use the advantage of terrain to gain an advantage over their opponent. So definitely trying to do that here with these various patches of forest. My opponent does have some Chaos Warhounds hidden here. For the rest of his build, it's a mix of Chaos Marauders and Chaos Warriors up front, with some Aspiring Champions mixed in for some morale support. Chaos Warriors in the center with Marauders out on the flanks. He's also got Chaos Warriors with Halberds, looks like two, one in the back here, one out on this flank. The Demon Spew as well, very, very good pick, and the Summoners of Rage. So pretty decent army. His army is led by Big Bird himself. Another decent pick against the Beastmen with the Terror and, of course, him being unbreakable and everything. The Plague of Rust and Transmutation of Lead is what he's brought, so we're not going to be seeing any final transmutation. He tried to get the Warhounds into these Centaurs with throwing axes, but the Centaurs with throwing axes will win that engagement in melee, and they just charged straight in there, did a ton of damage, about half the HP of the Chaos Warhounds immediately, and they're going to be able to pull away from that engagement fairly effectively. So my opponent is now marching, advancing his forces, going to be coming across here. Seeing that I have a skirmish advantage, he definitely wants to try and get into combat. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward a little bit through this skirmish phase here as we kind of pull things around. And the juicy target right here is the Swords of Chaos. Big Bird, obviously, with a 70% missile resistance, isn't going to take a whole lot of damage from the throwing axes. But if we can get a few axes onto these Swords of Chaos and do a bit of damage to them, that's going to be good. I'm also just trying to draw these two away from the rest of the army, so we can potentially get an isolated engagement with these Sons of Goros and the Centaurs with great weapons. So we'll see. We'll go ahead and just fast forward here as my opponent continues to march across the board. I did get caught, a little bit of a lapse in micro there to get caught slightly by the Swords of Chaos, but we'll be able to pull away. The high speed of the Centaurs with throwing axes is going to be tough for Chaos to deal with. You can see this unit actually gets terrified by Big Bird, unfortunately. But now we're going to spring the ambush, get a nice charge on Big Bird, and immediately follow through onto the Swords of Chaos, doing a bit of damage there. You can see some nice burst damage coming in, and the Swords of Chaos as well taking quite a bit of damage. But very well played by my opponent, dropping Transmutation of Lead here. That's going to seriously negate the combat stats of the Centaurs with great weapons. They're down to 0 melee attack, and so they're not going to be doing too much damage there. You can see that burst was pretty quickly stopped, and they've mostly stabilized. The Swords of Chaos, just because of their low model count, aren't going to be able to do a whole lot of damage in return, but they'll do enough to let the Terror kick in, and that's going to be real tough for me. Big Bird charging through, trying to get on these Centaurs with throwing axes as they're just continuing to skirmish into the side of these Swords of Chaos here. The main line engagement is about to kick off. I've brought my Lord up here just as a little bit of a bait, and my opponent's responded by bringing these Summoners of Rage, so we're going to bring him back towards the Gorbel and the Butchers of Kalkengard here, and try and get some good damage done on them. Meanwhile, the Spears are over here just pinning in these Swords of Chaos and Sartharel the Everwatcher. They were a bit late on the uptick getting into this engagement, but we are going to be able to get in there and do some nice damage. Unfortunately, the Sons of Goros have taken a ton of damage, as well as these other Centaurs with great weapons. So, over time, those Swords of Chaos definitely worked through them, and it was a tough situation for me. Now going to be getting the main line engagement underway. You can see the Summoners of Rage charging into these Gores, and we're going to be countercharging with the Butchers of Kalkengard here. And although the Butchers of Kalkengard don't have let's see, they don't have a bonus versus large. They still have 104 armor piercing damage and regeneration. Very good combat stats with 43 attack, 58 defense. So they're going to be able to hold for some time. These spearmen are going to get melted through in a big hurry. They're mostly just here as a delaying force. Meanwhile, the Sons of Goros are in here doing some nice armor piercing damage along with the Gorherds with shields. We're going to be bringing this other Gorherd around and getting into the rear here. Meanwhile, on this flank engagement here, we've finished off the Warhounds with the Centaurs with throwing axes. The Spearmen did get routed off, but they were able to do quite a bit of damage to the Swords of Chaos. Unfortunately, they still are holding together, so that's tough for me. We did get this unit here rallying, so we're going to be bringing him back around shortly. And here in the mainline fight, you can see these poor Ungors just getting absolutely carved through by these much more elite troops. And the Beastlord here is also in a bit of a precarious situation. He needs to make sure to stay on the move and not get caught out by these Demon Spew and, you know, the Halberds and other units in here. Dropping a Soul Blight now from the Lore of Death Bray Shaman. He's got Soul Blight, Fate of Buna, and Spirit Leech for, you know, pretty basic kit, and that's going to be sundering away the armor of all these aspiring champions and the Chaos Warriors and the Marauders and so on, allowing these Gorherd to trade much more effectively. You know, against Chaos Marauders currently have 0 armor, so they'll take quite a bit of damage there. But the Lord continuing to try and cycle in and out the Beastlord here, just not doing a ton of damage at the moment. You can see the Swords of Chaos have finally gotten over here. They're going to try and get into the rear of this main line fight. Another very nice Transmutation of Lead being dropped by my opponent, but we are going to countercharge with the the Koroks Man-Rippers here. And they're going to finish off these Swords of Chaos, bring them off the battlefield, so that's very good for me. The Summoners of Rage have taken quite a bit of damage as well from the Butchers of Kalkengard, but likewise the Butchers of Kalkengard are down to only 6 unit models, and it's going to be looking tough. You can see this unit of Chaos Warriors with Halberds getting a Fate of Buna, just because I didn't want their anti-large armor piercing to play into account too much, so some nice damage being done there. We're going to pull away the Beastlord and make sure he doesn't get caught there. Try and get into this fight to mop up the rest of these Chaos Marauders. You can see the Summoners of Rage are going to be dropping their Vortex ability, and unfortunately it does a nice little bit of damage there, but then just kind of goes off in this direction and doesn't end up doing anything. Meanwhile, the Koroks Man-Rippers holding out very, very well. Their defensive stats are, you know, allowing them to stay in this fight for quite a long time. Meanwhile, we've got Gorbel matched up on the Big Bird. He's one of the few units in this army that can definitely take down Big Bird, so we need to have him fighting on Big Bird as much as possible, just doing that armor-piercing, anti-large damage. And you can see Big Bird's taking quite a bit of damage, actually, down to about half health. So it's going to be tough. The Terror is going to be tough for me, though. You can see these Gorherds with shields being Terror routed off, and a lot of these other units finally bringing around the rallied Centaurs here to get a nice rear charge, do some decent armor-piercing damage, but they're just so tattered at this point, they're not going to be able to hold for very long. But it's time. The Beastlord's on his wheels, and he's ready. He's still very, very healthy, so he's going to be dropping some nice attacks here with the armor-piercing anti-infantry. Another beautiful Transmutation of Lead here hitting this entire pocket, but since it was cast on my Lord, when I go to pull away, it'll, you know, drop off of all these troops. That's going to be very nice for me. See the Butchers of Kalkengard very, very low, down to only 3 unit models, about 280 hit points, and they're in a really, really tough place. They actually rout there, and hopefully they're going to be able to get away and come back. The Koroks Man-Rippers as well, getting very, very low, getting Terror routed off. Very tough situation for me. Gorbel, you know, getting matched up against these Summoners of Rage is not exactly what he wants. I'm trying to pull him away from there, but the Summoners of Rage are trying to get on this Bray Shaman Lore of Death. I've casted a Spirit Leech, which, even though they don't have 1 unit model, you know, they only have about 4 left, so I figured it was the best choice. It's a relatively cheap spell as well, just trying to take down what was left of these Summoners of Rage here. Just continuing to cycle charge with these Centaurs with throwing axes, who are now out of ammo, just getting some nice rear charges, trying to do some morale and shock damage, while the Beastlord just continues to ride around on his Boar Chariot, just continuing to deal out those nice armor-piercing attacks. You can see him getting a nice side swipe there, and he'll be able to do quite a bit of damage. There's not a whole lot left of the Chaos forces that can catch him, which is unfortunate for them. Big Bird could potentially catch him, but he probably doesn't want to take that fight one-on-one. The Summoners of Rage could also catch him, but they're very low, only 3 unit models and about, let's see, 900 HP left, so it's going to be tough for them to catch him as well. This Gorbel's in a bit of a rough situation here. He doesn't want to get bogged down in this huge blob of infantry for too long, because I need him to be able to finish off this this Big Bird here. Big Bird's down to only 496 hit points, so he's very, very low. At this point, the balance of power is still very even, so if we can get rid of Big Bird, that'll hopefully flip the balance of power back in my favor. Thankfully, the Butchers of Kalkengard have rallied back here and are regenerating. They only have 2 unit models, so they'll only be able to regenerate a small amount of health, but still, you know, getting these guys back is huge, because they, of course, do cause fear and so on. So let's go ahead and just keep looking here. This Beastlord racking up already 94 kills and continuing to climb. My opponent's doing a good job of keeping his forces bunched up together so that anytime I charge in, I'm going to be taking attacks from multiple angles. But it's looking pretty rough for him. His mobility advantage is quickly evaporating, and although he still has quite a few troops left, you can see he actually has 282 to my 157. It's going to be tough. A lot of my forces are fairly tattered, and although we're trying to, regroup things back together, it's going to be tough to take out all the rest of this Chaos Infantry. So we'll go ahead and fast forward through this, as there's just a bit of positioning now. We're mopping up these 2 units of Chaos Marauders, and this unit of Ungor Spearman Herd unfortunately gets caught out and terrified, and they're going to get mopped up. No big deal. We're going to try and regroup the rest of these forces here and bring them into the forest for one final engagement. Since the Minotaurs have a bonus in the forest, it'll help swing the fight against Big Bird and against the Summoners of Rage, so potentially very good. Let's go ahead and fast forward just a little bit more here. So very, very close battle. It was well played to my opponent, and definitely came down to the wire. So just trying to pull around with the Beastlord here and do a little bit of charges, just trying to bait an engagement here, get him to come back over to the forest. So go ahead and fast forward for just a little bit here. They can see these Butchers of Kalkengard, so he knows I'm hiding all my forces right here. But we're going to send the Brave Shaman forward, get one last Spirit Leech off on Big Bird, even though he does have magic resistance of 25%, but won't be ideal. However, he'll still take some damage from there, and at this point I just need to get him off the battlefield. He only has 100 hit points left, so very, very low, and if I can get him off, I can probably bring this battle back. So you can see the bounce of power is slightly in my favor now. We'll go ahead and fast forward just a little bit longer here. But this Beastlord's going to get in here, beautiful flank charge right on these Chaos Warriors, do some really nice anti-infantry armor-piercing damage, and immediately pull away. The one Summoners of Rage that is remaining tried to go after him, but then decided that probably wasn't the best idea. So we'll go ahead and get in here for the final engagement. Let me go ahead and just, let's see, foliage. There we go. That way we can actually see what's going on in here as this final battle develops. So we're going to charge in everything and just try and do as much shock damage as possible. We've got Gorbol leading the way for the Minotaurs, the Ungor Spearmen that are remaining coming in, as well as the Beastlord on his Chariot. And at this point, Big Bird charges through, and the charge animation kind of takes him into the back here. And Gorbol's going to get on him and chop him in the back and bring him down. So very well played to Gorbol, bringing down the enemy Lord. And at this point, without the leadership, you can see a lot of these Chaos forces actually terror out the Chaos Warriors and the Marauders that were left, because the Butchers of Kalkengard, I believe, cause fear and terror, actually. Yep, fear and terror. So all those forces getting terror-outed off is a great break for me, and things are finally looking winnable. At this point, the last Summoners of Rage was killed by the Butchers of Kalkengard, and only the Demon Spew are holding out here. And that's going to be game. So very, very well played to my opponent. That's one of the closest battles I've had in quite a while, actually. So well played to Shadow Steppa. Very fun game. Very much enjoyed that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the breakdowns here. So, yeah, 114 kills on the Beastlord. Man, I'm digging the Beastlord on the Chariot. I played a couple of other games with him recently where he's done very, very well. And definitely a force to be reckoned with. There's still an argument to be made for Morghur in a lot of cases, but against Chaos, with the Swords of Chaos being a major threat to him, I definitely like the Beastlord on the Chariot. You got to protect him, but if you can, he can do a lot of damage, especially if your opponent doesn't have the tools to deal with him. Korok's Man-Rippers as well, getting 86 kills, holding out for a very long time there. Very nice. 49 kills on the Butchers of Kalkengard is decent. These Centaurs with throwing axes definitely paid their cost back as well. That ambush didn't go too well for me, unfortunately. Ended up losing a lot of troops, and although we did kill quite a few of those Swords of Chaos, made them mostly combat ineffective, I don't know if that was really a worthwhile trade, considering I invested a lot more resources into that fight than he did, so... let's see, 41 kills on the Gorbol, of course, him taking out the Big Bird in the end there was clutch. 124 kills on Marauders is very good. They must have mopped up some of those cheap spears. 102 on the Demon Spew is not surprising. One critique I do have of this build, I'd probably cut these Chaos Warriors and just bring Forsaken, just because Forsaken will trade more cost-effectively against low-armor Beastmen units. They'll be able to kill them a lot faster. So just a small amount of feedback. Otherwise, I very much like this build. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. I am loving making these videos for you. I'm having a ton of fun. So I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. Stay tuned for more. We're keeping it coming with more Total War Warhammer content every day. And stay tuned for next time.